My wife removed me from the guest list for being too basic. She had no idea I secretly owned everything she called her empire. She introduced me at every dinner party the same way. This is my husband. He gardens. Big laugh every time. I'd smile and refill glasses. For 8 years, I watched her build her company from our kitchen table. She was brilliant, genuinely. She could read a room, close a deal, make people believe in things that didn't exist yet. In the beginning, she'd come home late and I'd have dinner waiting. She'd talk for 2 hours about pitch decks and the men who underestimated her. "You're my piece," she'd say. "Everyone else wants something. You just want me to be happy." That was true. For a while, it was enough. Year 2, her company nearly collapsed. A major fund pulled out. 3 portfolio companies failed in the same quarter. I found her at the kitchen table at 4 a.m. crying into a spreadsheet. I waited until she fell asleep. Then I called my CFO, former Wall Street legend, retired at 45, to manage what he calls the most interesting portfolio on earth, mine. I inherited it at 23 from my grandfather, a man who spent 60 years building a holding company no one knew existed. When his lawyers showed up at my college apartment, the number they showed me had 12 digits. The instruction had 3 words: tell no one. So I didn't. I told my CFO to set up a shell company. Wire $5 million into her company. No board seat, no control. Just a quiet note. "We believe in your vision." She called it a miracle investor. I called it Tuesday. 6 more times over 6 years. Different shell company names each time. Real legal entities, real structures, all wholly owned by my holding company, all controlled by me. Every time her business hit a wall, a mysterious new believer appeared. Every time she thought she'd charmed a room full of money with her vision and her brilliance, it was the husband who burns focaccia pulling strings from a garden in Connecticut. $73 million total. She never traced a single dollar. The success changed her. The more powerful she became, the more she performed that power, and I became a prop in the performance. "My house husband," she'd say at events, laughing like it was a joke. But around year 5, the laugh had edges. She'd come back from Dubai talking about real power players. One night, drunk at a fundraiser, she told a story about me burning focaccia, made the whole table laugh. I stood there in my thrift store blazer and smiled. Then came the summit. Invitation-only gala. 500 guests, $300 billion in combined wealth, a $4.2 billion acquisition announcement at 9 p.m. that would make her one of the youngest female billionaires in venture capital. She'd talked about nothing else for 7 months. 3 days before, I asked what time I should get ready. She set down her coffee very carefully. "Honey, this is a professional event, very high level." I don't think she didn't finish. She didn't have to. The formal notice came from her assistant. "Your wife felt your attendance might detract from the evening's focus. She's arranged a dinner reservation for you, 8 p.m., a consolation dinner." So I'd be eating branzino while she became a billionaire. I sat in the garden for a full hour, thinking about 8 years, thinking about $73 million, thinking about the fact that the acquisition being announced tonight was being funded by a shell company, wholly owned by my holding company, which meant the deal that would make her a billionaire was being paid for by the husband she deemed too basic to attend. Then I called my CFO. "Pull the documentation, every dollar, every entity, chronological, with proof of origin. You're going public? I'm going nuclear." I called her assistant next, told him what I needed. He helped. I called her publicist, 23 years in crisis communications, and told her I'd triple her fee to make sure everyone remembered tonight. I arrived at the venue at 8:47, Brioni Tux, 6 security personnel. At 8:55, the spotlight hit the stage and my wife walked out radiant, controlled, completely certain this was her moment. That's when every ballroom door opened simultaneously. Room went silent. I walked down the center aisle, reached the front, looked at the MC and said quietly, "I'll take it from here." He stepped aside. "I'm her husband, the one she forgot to invite because I was," and I quote, "too simple for this event." The screens lit up. Every shell company, every wire transfer, every dollar traced back to me. Every investor who saved my wife's company, I said, was me. I pulled the envelope from my jacket, held it out. "Divorce papers. Your company will be fine," I said. "Your reputation, that's between you and them." I walked out. Behind me, 500 phones were already recording.